All right, welcome everybody to today's team training. We're excited. It's the 12th of April already, so we're coming up. I've got just 12 more days until I have my update call with Peter and Malin and the leadership team. So I am anxious for that. As you guys know, we talked about this before. It'll have been 6 months since the letter that we got back in October, and so yeah, it was time. It was time to get an update, and I'm got my fingers crossed, that things are gonna be on the up and up. But we'll see. We'll see what they tell us. See where we're at, and hopefully they're feeling like things are moving in that positive direction and are getting close. So it's going to be, yeah, a big day. So 2 weeks from today, right, we'll have our next training, and I'll hopefully have some details to share on that next training. So not much else to say about that other than we're looking forward to it, and we're excited. And I think in the end, it will have been worth it. We've seen, like, well, you probably all heard about Modere closing down yesterday. And so if anybody on this call was involved with Modere, heart goes out. We've all been there, right? We had this happen a few times now for several of us, and whether it was Transact Card or Modere or whatever. And unfortunately, the industry is changing, and lots of things happening out there. Competition is hard, and so um, let's do it right. I think that's the bottom line message is let's make sure that we have all the stability, the foundations are laid, and we've got something solid that can withstand the whirlwinds, right? And let's just let them do what they got to do to make it so that whatever this new project is, once it's ready, it will be solid and amazing, and it can last for decades. So, yeah, that is the message for today. So, the training today, let me go ahead and share my screen here, is we're going to go over vision mapping. That's the title. I went through a training a couple weeks ago based on this, and it made a lot of sense to me. So I said I'm going to adapt it and turn it into a training for my team, and it goes along with what we're trying to do in a lot of ways. So the idea of vision mapping is that if you're going to set a goal or you have a dream or a vision, it's not enough to just paint that picture, right? So this is adapted from Stephen K. Scott. You may have heard of him. He's written a lot of books and about self-help and entrepreneurship, and also a lot of Christian books. He lives here in Utah. He one of the books he wrote that I'm a fan of is the greatest man who ever lived, and he basically went through and took every single teaching and saying that Jesus ever said in the Bible and compiled it all and cross-referenced it all and applied that to what we do, right, with self-help and betterment and self-improvement and all those things and being successful in life. He took all of that and put it in that book. So it was really good. And I have a signed copy of it. Great read. If you ever want to go be inspired, Stephen K. Scott and the greatest man who ever lived. So he does a teaching and a course called vision mapping. So that's where this comes from. And it really comes down to this. This is how he starts it out. He says, imagine being told that there was a buried treasure on an island 200 miles south of Florida, right? And it's worth well over $1 million. Okay. But the only instructions you had to get there or to find it were to head south from Florida. There's no direction, no details, no map. Would you be able to get that treasure? Probably not, right? So putting together a dream board with all the pictures of things that you want to achieve, oh, I want to have more money, I want to have a new car, I want to travel, I want to, be successful, all those things, but you don't have any kind of a map, right? You're probably not going to get there because all that dream board is, or your vision board is, it's just it's a treasure. Okay, it's great, but without a map on how to get there, it will never become reality, right? So what we're going to talk about today is how to actually map it out, how to map out your vision so you can actually find the treasure, actually put an X on this that marks the spot. So the first thing to do, and he goes through this, and we won't take the time to do this right now, but I can send this out later if you want to do it for yourself, is he asks you to find your personality, right? And we've done lots of different personality tests. I'm sure you guys have done. There's the A type personality, or there's the color one, right? Where I'm a red, or I'm a blue, or I'm a white color. Well, he does it with animals, okay? And so what he does is he says, okay, go ahead and take this list that you see here and just put a number from 1 to 4, with the 4 being the one that is most like you, and number 1 being the least like you, and just kind of go through these different qualities, right? And then total them up. Okay. And obviously, it should not be more than one number in each of the by next to each of the words, and then you add it all up, and then you're going to graph it right on this little chart, so you can see, okay, what did you get for L, what did you get for O, what did you get for G, what did you get for B, and each letter stands for a certain personality type. Okay. And so you then say, okay, the column with the highest score is then that's your dominant personality. And of course, the lowest score is the one you're least like. But when you have that idea, okay, who am I? Am I an L, an O, or a G, or a B? Those are different animals. It's a lion, an otter, a golden retriever, and a beaver. Right? Those are the 4 animals that he picked. Okay, so here's kind of what lions are. Right? So lions, and each animal has its strengths and its weaknesses. Okay, so lions obviously are decisive, goal oriented, get results, right? They're risk takers, they're persistent and efficient, so more like an A type personality. But their weakness is they're impatient, they're blunt, they're poor listeners, they're demanding and impulsive, all that kind of stuff, right? And so you can see, okay, if you're a lion, these are your strengths. And then, of course, the idea is to recognize what your weaknesses are so you can maybe work on them a little bit. But in the end, the idea is, knowing what your strengths are, you can put them to work for you, right? And knowing what your weaknesses are, you can know what you need to work on, and where you can try and improve. Okay. And so what the lion desires at the end of the day is freedom, authority, variety, difficult assignments, and opportunity for advancement. Now, you might be an otter, okay, depending on your score there. So otters are enthusiastic, optimistic. They're good communicators. They're emotional and passionate. Um, they're outgoing and personal, all that. But their weakness is maybe not being realistic, right? Not detail oriented. They're impulsive, reactive. They can be a little bit too talkative, excitable. So otters, for comparison, I remember in the color code one, that's more like a yellow, right? So a yellow personality. So that's great because they're the partiers, right? They're the ones that very sociable and out there and enthusiastic and stuff, but they're not very focused, right? So the otter desires overall is prestige, friendly relationships, opportunity to help and motivate others, opportunities to verbally share their ideas, and so on. Then you have the golden retrievers. Golden retrievers are just easygoing, right? They're patient, they're team players, they're stable, empathetic, sensitive to feelings, tremendously loyal, dependable, reliable, all that. But their weaknesses, of course, are they can be indecisive, over accommodating, sacrificing results in favor of harmony, slow to initiate sometimes, right? They tend to hold grudges and hurts inflicted by others, and they don't like change that much. So golden retrievers, the good things, some bad things, but in the end, a golden retriever wants a quality relationship, security, consistent known environment, a relaxed and friendly environment, and freedom to work at their own pace. And then the last one is the beaver. Okay, so the beaver, they're accurate, they're analytical, they're detail oriented, thorough, industrious, orderly, methodical. They have high standards, right? All these things. They're intuitive, but sometimes they're too hard on themselves. Sometimes they're too critical. They can be perfectionists, maybe overly cautious. They don't want to make decisions without all the facts in place, right? A little bit too picky sometimes, okay, and sometimes sensitive. So, yeah, some great qualities being analytical and thorough and industrious, but yeah, maybe sometimes waiting too long to get started, right? In the end, a beaver desires clearly defined tasks, stability, security, low risks, and tasks that require precision and planning. Okay, so all good things, right? Each of the different animal types has their different strengths that they can use, and the idea of all of this, and where Stephen K. Scott goes with all of this, is that this is all about creating a team. Okay, so just like in sports, right? Not everybody can be, let's say, in basketball, not everybody can be the forward, not everybody can be on the defense, in football, not everybody can be quarterback. Some are on offense, some are on defense. So a team is is successful because they are able to implement the strengths of all the different personality types, and they're able to make up for the weaknesses, right? And so that's kind of the idea. Now, on an individual note, then once we've determined our personality type and what animal we are, now we're going to go through a 3-step process for reprogramming our brains. Okay. So the first step is realization. Now, this one is really just recognizing that our future success is not based on nor limited by our present know how or resources like time, talent, or money. Okay. So we have to recognize that. We have to just really understand in the end, it's not just all about us. Okay. It's about the team. It's also recognizing that your future success is not limited by your lack of achievement in the past or past failures. Okay. So it doesn't matter if you never achieved a top rank in a company. It doesn't matter how many times you failed or been in a situation where you didn't quite make it. Okay. None of that matters. And then finally, your future success at home and on the job is going to be based on the fact that your brain is programmed for extraordinary success through a specific set of strategies, skills, and techniques that you're going to learn through mentoring sessions, and then you'll utilize it in your daily life. Okay. So that's the first thing, is to recognize, hey, you know what? I have all the potential here because none of the past mattered. None of the things I'm lacking really matter. What really matters is just really my attitude, right? And where I'm at with this. So, second thing is then to make that personal commitment. So, making a decision right now to believe that the strategies and the skills that you're going to learn in the program will make a difference, and then act according to your belief by using those skills and strategies contained in the course on a daily basis. Okay. So now it is deciding, committing, and doing it, being consistent. And then, of course, the third thing is the strategy, right? We're going to use this vision mapping idea. We're going to have a clear definition of your goal on any particular dream, the extraordinary outcome that you want to achieve, and then the way to make those dreams a reality. Okay. So 3 steps. That's it. Reprogramming the brain. Now we're ready to go. Okay. So here's the first step of vision mapping. This is how we're going to map it out, how to get to that treasure. Okay. We're going to list the most important areas in our life and then put them in the top priority. Okay. So we're going to put as many ideas in as many areas of your life as you want, right? You can make a huge list. We're not going to edit or judge the ideas, right? We're just going to list them. Okay. Then, and you don't have to write or complete this list in one sitting, right? You can take your time, do it over several days, a week, whatever. But what it does is it begins this process where you're now going to start really thinking about what is a priority in my life, right? What is most important, okay? And now you're going to follow that again and again every time you have a dream that you want to convert into a reality. Okay, so for example, I personally divided my life into 8 important areas: my relationship with God, my marriage, my relationship with my children, my family's health and security, my health, my career, my finances, and then my extracurricular dreams and passions. Okay, those are the 8 things that are the most important to me. Obviously people will have different things, but I think that kind of sums it up for, probably we're all in the same boat when it comes to those things. Then we're going to prioritize. Okay, so that's the important step in this. After we've created that list or several lists, right, if you want, you're going to prioritize them into the areas of importance, listing the most important area at the top. Okay. Now we're going to create the dream page, right? So we're going to select one of the most important areas of your life. We're going to write it down in the area section. Okay. And that, for example, one of the areas might be finances. Okay. So we're going to write down the dreams related to finances in this area. Okay. In other words, the things that you would like to see happen to you in the world of finances, right? And it could be, I want to be financially free. I want to pay off my mortgage. I want to, be making a 6-figure income, whatever that is. And it could be more specific than that. But that's what you're going to write on the dream page. Okay. Now we're going to select a dream from the previous page. Okay. One of those specific things, pay off the mortgage, for example, right? Now we're going to vision map this dream now. So you need to ask the following questions about that specific dream. What are the broad ramifications of this dream? We're going to really look at the benefits. Like, wow, what would that actually mean to have my house completely paid off, right? And own it free and clear, other than property taxes, which is a whole other story. But anyway, the idea is that you're now motivating yourself, right? You're looking at the ramification. Wow, what would that actually mean to have a 6-figure income? What would that actually do for me in my life if I didn't have to stress about paying the bills? Would it help with my actual physical health? Right? Would it act, my mental stability, all these different things, like, oh, being financial freedom, what does that actually mean? Wow. Okay. Second thing is, who am I going to share it with? Because you need accountability partners. You need somebody that knows what it is that you're dreaming about and what you're trying to get to, so they can kind of hold you accountable, right? And it could be family, or it could be part of the team, right? Your business partners, whoever it is, but multiple people, in this case, that you want to share it with, so they know, so they can remind you, right? Then you're going to look at, what are my helpful personality traits, right? So, if I'm an otter, okay, great. I'm outgoing. I can, do these different things. I'm going to utilize those to help achieve that goal. And then, of course, what are my weaknesses? What could be the obstacles, right? Am I too outgoing? Am I too friendly? Am I too scatterbrained to stay focused and accomplish my goal, right? And then you're going to ask, so who are some outside experts or mentors who could help me, right? If I don't really know what I'm talking about when it comes to paying off a mortgage, do I have any friends or teammates or people that have done it, right? And I can ask them, how did you do it? How did you go about paying off your mortgage? Did you, make extra payments, or, or like, is the option to refinance, or like different things, right? We can ask somebody that knows better than us and take that advice, and or just, even if it's a process, right? Hey, somebody that's more focused, hey, can you help me to, put this into an Excel spreadsheet, because I know nothing about Excel, and, help me with that, and that kind of stuff, right? And now we're going to look at some specific goals to accomplish the dream. So now we're going to go from goals to steps, right? That's what most people don't do. Most people set a goal, right? They have a dream and they maybe set a goal, but they never get it down to the nitty gritty of specific steps. So choosing one goal from the previous page, write that down. And now we're going to think of the individual steps that it will take for you to accomplish that goal. You got to pencil in a date, because as we've taught in the past, a goal without a date is just a wish. Okay. So you got to pencil in the date when you want to accomplish each of these steps. And then you start in this vision mapping process, right? Now, this is where we take any complex step, which is a step that requires more than one task to be completed, and we divide that into specific tasks that we need to complete that step. Okay. After completing this, we will now have a detailed map that will lead us from where we are right now to the final achievement of our goals and dreams. So congratulations, you have successfully mapped your vision. That's really what it comes down to is, say, okay, here's my dream put out here. It's the buried treasure on the island, right? I'm going to put an X on that, but how do I get there, right? Do I turn left at the rock and then head north at the tree and right? That's the idea, and it'll get us to where we need to go to find that treasure. So you have to start at the goal and break it all the way down to the individual steps. Okay, on a daily basis, I'm going to right and or on a monthly basis, I'm going to pay extra so much towards my mortgage, or on a weekly basis, I'm going to talk to 10 people about my business and see if they're interested or not, because I know if I talk to 10, probably at least one or two of them will say yes, even though 8 or 9 of them will say no. Doesn't matter. But if I talk to none of them, maybe I'm like the beaver, right? The beaver who so analytical and wants everything to be perfect, so he doesn't ever start. Right? So you're like, no, I'm going to start even though things aren't perfect. These are some of the steps that we can put in place to make sure that we're now doing daily activities, weekly activities, monthly activities that will get us to the X marks the spot. So the other important thing that Steve talks about is a lot of times we hesitate because we think I have no time, or I have no talent, or I have no money. Okay, those are the three things, right? But guess what? No problem. Why? Because if we write down where we lack any of these three resources and where the obstacles lie to achieve any particular dream, when we want to achieve it, we can start to analyze, okay, where could I get that, right? So we're going to expand our limited resources. How? By recruiting the help of outside resources and partners. That's the idea. We expand time by delegating work and duties, right? So maybe you think, oh, I'm not very good at social media, but maybe I can find somebody, and it could be, a family member, it could be, one of your kids, one of your grandkids, whatever, and say, hey, look, I know you're maybe not wanting to do network marketing or that kind of thing with me, but could you at least help me set up a campaign on TikTok, right? And okay, I've recruited somebody, not like in an MLM multi-level sense, but just as a resource, right? Somebody that kind of knows what they're doing when it comes to these different things, and partner with them, outsource it so they can help you where you're lacking, right? We also expand our talent by recruiting those who have talents that we lack. And then finally, we can expand our money by recruiting the help of banks, investors, financiers, etc. Okay. So, in other words, there are resources out there that we can tap into if we think we're missing something to just get us on our way and get us started. So, in conclusion, with a vision map, you now can find the treasure, right? But just like with any treasure hunt, you don't want to go alone. Okay. So, you're going to need the right supplies, the right training, and a team. So, if you were an otter, you may want to go recruit some lions to help you out, right? Or are you a beaver? Well, having a golden retriever to work with can help you overcome being a perfectionist. So, with the map in hand, the right tools, and a team of talented people, finding that buried treasure now becomes so much easier than just hoping for things, right? And trying to find it out on your own. Passion, together with skills, together with the right team, will fuel your success. So the invitation is, of course, go out and map out that vision today. So if you guys want, I have the whole workbook. It's like a big 70-page long thing that Stephen K. Scott makes available. That you go through all of this in a lot more detail and write things down and stuff. I'll share that with anybody that wants it. We'll put it in the groups so you can download it and do it. But very helpful. This really helped me to understand. Yeah, it's true. You can't just paint the vision, right? And just kind of be like, okay, that's great. It's important to map that vision out, have a treasure map per se, and that will help us to get there over time. So that was the training for today. Thanks for jumping on, and we will see you all in 2 weeks for our next training. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Well done. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.